Hello, welcome back to Command 201 Club. This is episode 4. Today we are going to talk about holiday recap, how to get all of the people you've been communicating with over the holidays onto your contacts list. And we are also going to talk about what the Ford conversation is. And lastly, we are going to talk about the quarterly call smart plan. So a lot packed in a few short minutes. Let's get going. The first thing I want you to do is to pull out your list, whether it is when you're keeping on paper, on your computer, in a Google Sheet, or whether you are already entering people into Command, wherever you are keeping your list of people. Here is the list of people that I want you to add for today. So there's two different ways that you can do this. The first is if you are a holiday card person, right? Some of us are, some of us aren't. It doesn't matter if you are or not a person. If you are a holiday card person, you may already have a list pre-filled out with addresses. Perhaps you have phone numbers there, maybe you don't, but either way, you've probably got addresses, which is really lovely because you mailed a holiday card and you have a whole list of anywhere from 10 to 100 people, perhaps, that you are sending holiday cards to. So that is one way to grab a list of people that you can start entering into Command. If you do not send holiday cards, that way, if you send an e-greeting card, I've seen a lot of people posting it that way. If you have an email list, another great place to start. So holiday cards is one way where you can gather all of the people you've been talking to recently and put them into your Command database. Now, we'll talk in just a minute about what you're going to say to them, but first I want you to gather this list of people you've talked to over the holidays. So holiday cards is not your jam. Perhaps you attended events, perhaps with friends, with family, with former coworkers, whatever world they may be in, you probably attended some kind of gathering over the last few weeks that would be considered a holiday gathering. So that's another way where you can just sit down with your list, think about that event, or go through photos that you took or a photographer took of that event and write down names of people that you would be putting into your contact database. So people that know, like, trust you, wouldn't feel weird getting a phone call from you. All of those people would be people I would write down on the holiday list. Okay, so two ways to approach it: holiday card list or going back through photos over the past couple of weeks and the people that you've been interacting with. So again, that could be anywhere from 10 to 100 people. So you may need to space this out over a couple of days if you're on the higher end of that number of the list. Like if you have 100 people, it may take you a couple of days to get them all entered into Command. That's okay. So now that you know the people that you're talking to, what the heck are you going to talk to? Because it feels salesy and weird sometimes if you're talking to these people at a holiday gathering about real estate. So how do we organically approach that conversation? Okay, I am going to take you through the Ford conversation. The Ford conversation, Ford stands for F is for family, O is for occupation, R is for recreation, and D is for dreams. This Ford model is saved for you on the Google Drive. I will post a link to that when I post this on our private Facebook page as well, so that you will have access to where I keep this document. So family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Ford is just a mnemonic device so that you remember what those letters stand for so that you can create a meaningful conversation when you're speaking to anyone that might be in this holiday group. So it's great for people at events, parties, holiday gatherings, when you're meeting new people, or when you're reaching out just to break the ice with somebody you already know, a past client, somebody in your network that you haven't talked to in a while. The Ford conversation is a great way to just, like I said, break that ice. So how does it work? Well, first, it works because you're removing the ego by making the conversation about the other person. So all of a sudden, it's not about you being an amazing real estate agent. It's about them. And that makes people feel more comfortable. So it does require that you ask questions. You're able to then control the conversation. It also makes whoever you're talking to feel really special and feel heard. And that's an underrated piece of this model. It really helps when you've allowed that person to get something off their chest, to share a little bit, something either good or bad. Either way, it's something that a lot of us are lacking in our daily lives. So this is your opportunity to make them feel really special. And the bonus is that because you're asking about occupation, which is the O in Ford, it typically leads to them then asking you a question about real estate, which gives you a really natural transition to say something. I do recommend that you say something really positive. Real estate's great. I've been very lucky to start helping people with their real estate goals or their dreams, right? Say something positive. Maybe you say something along this, do you know anybody that could really use my help? Like, I'm really enjoying this career. Who could I help that you know? That's another way that you can approach that part of the conversation. So I'm going to give you a couple sample questions that are in each part. So a sample conversation, if you're following the Ford model, starts out with family. How were the holidays? What was the best thing you did with your family this year, right? You're asking about the family. Just let them share. And then maybe you ask something about, oh, that's awesome. After you've let them explain about their family, is your company still loving the relocation to a certain city? Or are you still working at such and such a company, right? Start to ask about their occupation. Usually this is where there's that pause and they then turn and ask you something. So allow for that pause at this point in the conversation. Then there's recreation. How was your snowboarding trip? How are the kids doing in school, right? Or in their hiking club? Just something that's a little bit fun, recreational. And then lastly, you can always end with a dream question. If you didn't have to work at all anymore, how would you fill your days? I used to use the lotto question here, right? Like, if you won the lotto and you could do anything you wanted, what would you do? It's kind of a fun way to get to know friends or family on a deeper level. And it's a really fun one to end a conversation on as well, because they leave feeling really positive. So these are just some questions that you can use to help structure those conversations, right? So I wanted you to have this model just to understand a little bit about that. So this model is going to be on the Google Drive. Like I said, I will post the link to this when I post the link to this video on our Facebook page as well. The next thing I want to walk you through, in addition to the Ford model, is how to put somebody on a quarterly call smart plan. Now, this is assuming you have already put people into command. Now you're going into the next step and you're adding them to a smart plan for follow-up. So this is a completed contact form. If you went back to my overall contact dashboard, it's going to look something like this, right? It's got all of this in there. So then when I click on this name, this is my test account, I click on this contact and I want to add them to a quarterly call plan. So I just spoke to this person. I used the Ford model. I had a great conversation. Perhaps we talked about real estate because they asked me, and now I want to make it a point to check in with them on a quarterly basis, because these are the people that know and like me and are probably going to refer me to their friends and family when real estate needs pop up. So I want to put them on a quarterly call smart plan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to smart plans and I'm going to click add to smart plan. Now this is going to pull up all of the smart plans that I've already downloaded to my smart plan library. So I do have a lot in here. So I'm just going to search for quarterly call plan. Quarterly message plan is a different one that I created. We're not going to go into that today. Today, we're going to use the quarterly call plan because that is a pre-built KW smart plan that everyone has access to right away. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit select. If I hit start now, the smart plan will start immediately. If I just spoke to this person, right, I just had a conversation with them today, I probably will wait and I'll set this maybe 2 months out. So if I just had that call today, I'm going to go forward 2 months and I'm going to say, you know what, let's do this sometime in late February. And then I want you to remind me. So I've picked my date, I've hit confirm, and now this person will be added to the quarterly call smart plan. So that's just going to give me a reminder. Now, the key thing that you need to know when you add someone to a quarterly smart plan is that you do need to come into your tasks every morning. This is where it will show up. So if I switched over here to this third icon, the one that has a little check marks and says tasks, that's where it will remind me. So in 2 months, it'll remind me. And then 3 months after that, 3 months after that, forever and ever and ever. And then all you have to do is give that person a call and go through that Ford script once again. So that's just a way to keep in touch with friends and family in a really organic way that doesn't feel so salesy, but gives you the opportunity. And I promise real estate starts to come up calls where you're just checking in to see how the person is doing. Either way, this is a great way to stay in touch with your database. So that's your assignment for today. Add at least 10 people, maybe more, either people on your holiday card list or people that you ran into over the holidays by going back through your photos and checking who you saw. Have a great day. See you in episode 5.